Hey,
Hey.
buongiorno,
Buongiorno.
ciao.
Welcome.
How are y'all doing today?
We are good. I'm good.
You
How about
good?
you?
How are you doing today?
How are you doing today?
Really? Anything interesting happen?
Oh, really?
Wow. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Listen, friends, welcome to the 21 Days of Encouragement. And what is the name of the series, baby?
Let's talk about.
All right, let's talk about with a little bit of attitude there.
Yes.
I like it.
Because
All
we
right.
talking.
We talking.
We talking.
Listen, friends, today, man, we're going to go ahead and get deep into this thing. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it, and I'm so very excited about it. I'm just ready to get into it. Today's topic is what, baby doll?
Trust is a must.
Trust is a must.
Do you have trust?
Do you? Here's the thing, trust is so vitally important for a relationship. You can't have a real relationship, even a stable relationship, a balanced, healthy relationship without trust. If you don't trust somebody, can you really be friends with them? Can you really be in a relationship with them? Personally, I know not. And anyhow, so, let's go ahead and get right into it. Today, we're in Judges, chapter number 16. Judges, chapter number 16. And I want to talk about Samson and Delilah. Yeah, we're still in Samson and Delilah. We're in Samson and Delilah. We're going to stay in Samson and Delilah. Judges, chapter number 16. And we're going to look at verse number 15. When you look at verse number 15, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's stay at verse 15. It says, "How can you say I love you?" she told him, "when your heart is not with me. This is the third time that you have mocked me and not told me what makes your strength so great." Now, I'm going to stop right there because, when we deal with Samson and Delilah, so many times we just deal with the obvious things. But, when we did the first live video, I talked about the fear of Samson. And if you missed that, go back and check that out. The fear of Samson. That's a powerful thing. But what I want to look at today is trust is a must. You see here, first off, Samson was married to Delilah. We know that. We understand that. But Samson did not trust Delilah. He knew he didn't trust Delilah. But yet he still stayed with her. He still was with her. And here's the thing that gets me. When you are in a relationship where there is no trust, where one person doesn't trust the other, maybe one person trusts the other, or either neither one trusts the other, the relationship is always going to fail unless that trust is corrected. Let's look at what happened with Samson and Delilah. What ended up happening? She ended up betraying him ultimately, because he finally told her his secret, and he ended up getting his eyes plucked out and being captured, and then his hair was cut off. He lost all his strength, and then the Lord restored him his strength, and he died in that last moment. So every time that a relationship does not have the foundation of trust, it is doomed to fail miserably. I mean, Samson's hair got cut, his eyes got plucked out, and he was put on public display in embarrassment. When trust is broken in a relationship, maybe there was trust before and one person breaks it, the other character is always left hurt. And hurt people, and they're going to try and put your business out there. I see this, and I want to talk about this in the spirit, that there is somebody who's been hurt out there, and you've been putting the person who's hurt you, business on blast. God says that this is not his way. This is not the thing that he desires for his people. But what he desires for his people, especially if you are a child of God, a man or a woman of God, what he desires for his people is that even if that trust is broken, that we still handle them and treat them in love. He doesn't treat us as our sins deserve that we ought to be treated. So when somebody sins against you and they break your trust and they betray you in a major way, don't put all the business out on Facebook, social media, and Twitter and Instagram, all of that stuff. But what God says is love them despite of. You don't have to stay with them, but you don't have to put all their business
Yeah,
out there.
that's true.
So let me encourage you. I feel the Lord leading me to say this. When someone breaks your trust and sins against you, don't treat them as their sins deserve, but give them grace. Give them mercy. Babe, go ahead.
But also, if they've broken your trust,
Yeah.
and you're exposing them, don't be the one that goes back. Like Delilah.
Yeah.
Delilah was exposing him because she didn't trust him, and he wouldn't reveal his secrets with her, and she kept going back, and he kept going back.
That's the look. I'm so. I tell you the fake truth one time, and I wake up and you done did it.
You done posted it.
Look here, girl. Look.
You done told everybody.
Look.
You got to go. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. We try to give people the benefit of doubt, but God has given everybody a spirit of discernment.
Yes.
And when those red flags pop up, believe who they are.
Absolutely.
If you caught them texting somebody else or FaceTiming somebody else, and it was just one person, you still need to move on about your day, especially if you are not married.
Exactly. I was going to say, girl, you on it. Go ahead.
Because trust is a must.
Yeah.
And when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. If they show you that they are a liar or a cheater, believe them.
I say that all the time.
Now, if you're in your marriage, believe it as well, but you need to go before the Lord and pray and see what you can do about it.
Amen.
Now, Samson was betrayed by Delilah, and he did not trust Delilah, and Delilah did not trust him, and she put all of his business out there. Every time she betrayed him, she tried to figure out where his strength lay, and every time she called the enemy in to bind him, to take him hostage to jail, to prison, and he went right back. And there's some of you guys that are posting somebody's business out there because they've hurt you, because you can't trust them anymore, and you're still going right back to that same mess. You're still going right back to that person that you can't trust. And it doesn't matter how good the sex is. It doesn't matter how good you think that they may be, or you can't find nobody else that'll love you like them. Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you can't trust them, there's no love there.
Come on.
If you can't trust them, you can't find your future there. Yeah. If you can't trust them, then all hope is lost until that foundation of trust is rebuilt. Now, in the sake of a marriage, you don't need to just walk away from your marriage if you can't trust them.
Right.
See, many of us are afraid to go through dark times, and we want to go ahead and get a divorce, and God has not called us to do that. He's called us to weigh out that thing, pray through that thing, and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, she just touched on something so good, so amazing. Listen, if you are married and you're in the issue where there is no trust has been broken time and time again, or you've got to listen, unless God releases you from that thing. Scripture tells us that there are certain times and reasons why a person can get a divorce. If there's adultery, all those sort of things, then you can get a divorce, and God says it's fine, it's okay, it's cool. But if you just, y'all have a trust issue, maybe something done happened and you just don't fully trust him no more. He done started gambling or something like that, and you thought he was paying the bills, and the bills. Listen, God ain't call you to. There are some times where God just calls you to pray, and God calls you to, because the praying wife, the sanctified wife, can sanctify and get her husband saved. Same thing, vice versa. It says that the praying, sanctified husband can get the wife saved if she ain't right. So sometimes what we need to learn to do is pray. Pray for your spouse and cover them. Even in the midst of they know goodness, pray for them until something happens. You got to push through that thing. Also, I want to interject this. The problem that a lot of our marriages have is we went into it not trusting them. We went into it with a foundation that wasn't right, that wasn't on point. Listen, you have to listen and use wisdom. If somebody warns you and tells you from the jump, I don't think you need to be with them. If somebody shows you from the jump that they not trustworthy before y'all even get married, if y'all even engaged,
Yeah.
look, hey.
If the wedding is the next day.
Look, it ain't too late to cut it short. Look, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. I say it all the time, but you have to get to a place where you really understand and know.
But I'm 39 and I ain't been married yet. And he the only man that want to marry me.
Listen, if he is cheating on you, if he is beating on you, and you can't trust him because he taking all your money, look, you better let him go. Look, I even see somebody who got into a relationship or is in a relationship with a man, and he been looking at your daughter funny. God says don't walk into that because you setting your daughter up for hell, and you gonna destroy the relationship with your daughter.
Ain't better than no man at all.
Come on, somebody, say that again.
A piece of a man ain't better than no man at all.
My God, today, listen, friends, trust is an absolute must. If you don't trust them, you don't need to be with them. You still love them in Christ, but you don't have to be with somebody that you don't trust.
Yeah,
there are plenty of fish out in the sea. And if God will provide for me, he can provide for you.
And if somebody's trying to earn your trust back, they falling, your husband is falling, your wife is falling, and they're trying to earn your trust back.
Yeah.
God can restore them. And you have to ask God to work through you and work through your heart so that you can forgive and you can start to rebuild. And you may say, man, they've cut me down. You don't know how they've treated me. It's been 10 times over, 20 times over, but you still there.
Yeah.
Work it out.
Yeah.
You still there, pray it out.
Yeah.
Give them another chance. Jesus gave us another chance. He gives us another chance over and over again. And in the church, religious folks, we get to this place where we just so high and mighty. And like, oh, I read the scriptures and I pray, but you ain't praying with no power. You ain't praying a fervent prayer to get through the Lord and say, you know what, God, I want this marriage. I'm going to fight for this marriage. I know we've had a rough time, but God, you ain't told me to leave yet, so I must be here for a reason.
Yeah.
Pray that thing out.
Come on, somebody. Listen, I want you to absolutely grasp and understand.
And don't worry about what other people are going to say about you because they know your business. Because when you didn't trust them, you went and told everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to go back.
Yeah. Listen, I want y'all to absolutely grasp hold and understand that God is a God who is able to restore.
Yes,
He's able to rebuild. God is able to take the worst of the worst and turn them into a preacher, a prophet, and a pastor.
Yes.
And you just have to, if God can do that, you just got to trust God. If God don't release you from it, if God don't tell you it's okay to walk away, then don't you dare walk away.
Yeah.
You stay in that thing because who knows what God is going to do through you and through him.
Right.
If you leave too soon, you may cause them to wreck and go to a complete wrong direction. You may be the only saving grace that this person got. And they just holding on to the fact that you are in their life and God's trying to use you to save them and to bring them out and to bring them through. Listen, don't give up on God. God ain't gave up on you and he ain't giving up on them. And he sure enough ain't gave up on y'all as a married couple.
Right.
So let me just encourage you. Know that God is a restorer. If that person comes to you in all sincerity and says, listen, I'm sorry. I know I've messed up. I want to do better. I'm trying to do better. Please let me show you I can do better. Give them that opportunity. Because God may be working. And if God is working, who are you to deny God his work? God gonna work with you whether you stay or not, but God can do even greater work in you, heal you while he's healing them. Heal those scars while he's also working on them. Friends, I just want to encourage you. Don't give up too soon.
Don't give up too soon.
Trust is an absolute must.
It is.
But God can restore trust.
Yeah.
He can restore trust. You just have to trust him.
Yes.
You just have to let him. Even when God has betrayed your trust, per se. I see that there are some people who feel like God betrayed their trust. They were trusting that God would save their mama, that God would save this, do this, bring them out of this. God would make a way out of no way, and it didn't happen, and God betrayed your trust, but yet he still is faithful. He's still God. And I want you to understand that God is able to heal even that. And and see, some of the problem that we have is we feel as though God is a genie in a bottle who's supposed to grant every wish, but God says he is not a genie. Sometimes his answer's gonna be no, because he's trying to get you to understand and realize that you don't need to depend on these people. You don't need to depend on this resource, but he'll cut the job. He'll cut that person out of your life. He'll do this sort of thing to get you to understand that he is your source. So let me encourage you. Let me encourage you. I've tried to wrap it up a couple of times, but God is still speaking. Let me encourage you to know that you can always trust God.
Keep going.
It don't matter what it looks like, no matter what it's been. God is able to restore. Trust is an absolute must. And here's the last thing I'm going to say about it. If you feel like God has broken your trust, he says this. He says, I am a rewarder of them that diligently seek me. So that means you've got to keep on. And he's going to reward that. He's going to show up. He's going to show out. He's going to do some things. But first, you have to trust him. He says, they that come to me must first believe that I am, and that I am a rewarder of them that diligently seek me. Friends, keep trusting him.
We get into a place where we think we know better than God. We think we can see better than God. We think that our plans and our ways are better than his ways. And that is not so.
No.
Even in the darkest times, trust God. In the darkest times, he allows you to be blind so that you can follow his voice, follow his spirit, follow the light. You don't know which direction that you're supposed to go in, but that is the point where you need to draw to him closer. Sometimes he allows his presence to pull back, so just to see if you're going to seek him more, if you're going to press in more. It ain't like how it used to be, because you need to press. You need to press into his spirit, press into his presence. And I love how my sister says, reach, teach me to reach. Teach me to reach for your spirit, Lord. And in that place, you will learn to trust him more.
Yes, friends. Man, I think we have said a mouthful.
Amen.
I want to continue to encourage you. Trust God. It all starts with trusting God. Even if you won't trust in your relationships, start off by trusting God.
Trust him.
Learn how to trust in God. When you learn how to trust in God, then you'll find that trusting other folks is a whole lot easier.
And ask him the areas you don't trust him in. Because a lot of times we think, I trust God. I trust God. We really don't.
Come on, listen.
Ask him to show you.
Listen. Last thing, she talking about ask God to show you. Remember Jairus when he said, listen, anything is possible if you only believe. Jairus said, God, I believe, but help my unbelief. The places where I don't believe, where I'm struggling to believe, I'm struggling to trust. I know I came to you believing that you were able to heal her, but that was while she was alive. Now she is dead. So God, help me in this place, because I just don't know. Ask God to reveal it to you. Friends, listen, I could go on for another hour. I love you.
We love you.
You be blessed.